Okay, we're going to have a little look at some reversing around a corner. First of all, the whole point of reversing around a corner is to turn around and face your opposite direction. We're going to have a little look at reverse around a corner to a left hand side. The first stage is to get from prior to the corner or before the corner to parked across the other side. This is something that's going to happen on your driving test. Your examiner will park you before the corner and then instruct you to drive past the corner before you reverse back in. The first thing that you've got to do is move off safely. When you're moving off, you've got to make sure that you appreciate that you are going to be stopping shortly. So make sure you move off, leaving plenty of time if there's any other vehicles coming from behind. You don't want to be moving off and then stopping suddenly as well. So normal observations to move off. When you move off, you go through our normal routine, which is prepare, observe and manoeuvre. So you move away. When you're up to a particular place where you can see, you need to have a look in the road to make sure it is safe for you to conduct this manoeuvre. You need to make sure it's not a one-way street. You need to make sure there's no obstructions in the road, at least 3 to 4 car lengths in. And then you apply an MSM routine to park in across the other side. When you're parking in, make sure the signal, if it's needed, isn't going to be misleading to anyone. And when you park a couple of car lengths past the corner, and leave yourself a little bit more room away from the curb than you would park normally, because reversing, if you get too tight to the curb, it's really difficult and sometimes impossible to get yourself away. The only way you can get yourself away is to drive forward.
Have a quick look into the road and then apply an MSM routine. Only signal if it's needed.
The next thing that we've got to do, we've got to reverse back to what we call our point of turn. This is where the rear wheels of our car, or the rear near side wheels, the side nearest the curb, are going to reach the first curved curbstone, which is approximately here. And there's a couple of different ways to do this, but we're going to be mainly looking out the back quarter window and maybe checking information in our left hand door mirror. So we do the same thing. We prepare, observe and then manoeuvre, and then we reverse back to our turning point.
As you can see, the back wheel of our car gets next to the first curved curbstone. What this looks like in the back quarter window is where the curb of the new road we're reversing into seems to be approximately at the top of the back seats, which is above the rear wheel. What this looks like in the left mirror is as you continue to reverse, the curb that you see gets less and less and less, and when there's a tiny little bit left in the corner of the mirror, that's when you know you're also at your turning point. It doesn't quite look like that in this picture, only because of where the camera is situated.
The next thing that we're going to have to do is actually follow the corner. Now, I appreciate that all corners are different, and they are, but if you apply one turn of the steering wheel 360 degrees to the left hand side, that's going to be a good starting point for your car to start going around the corner. It's not going to be that exact amount. You may have to put a little bit more on or take a little bit more off, but that one turn of the wheel will make sure that you're starting off in the correct sort of direction. Before you do any turn, it's very important to do a set of all-round observations again, because at this point the front of the car is going to swing out in towards the traffic, so you need to check around everywhere again. You don't have to pause or stop at your turning point, but there's no problem if you do to have another final check before you turn. And then, like I said, once you move, you can put one turn of the wheel on, and that's going to start your car heading round the corner. You will need to assess whether it's going closer or further from the curb as you're going round, but I'll show you that shortly. But the car's then going to start heading round the corner.
After applying one turn of the wheel, the back of the car is heading towards the curbstone. If we were to continue in this way, we'd end up mounting the curb, or at least touching it. So what we need to do is move again and take some steering off. We've actually taken too much off and the back of the car is heading away from the curb. So what we actually need to do is apply more so the back of the car isn't going to head closer or further away from the curb. The same applies in the left door mirror. We've put our one steer on, and the back of the car, if you look at the rear door handle, is coming closer towards the curb. So there's too much coming on. So we're going to move and take some off. And again, just to show you, I've taken too much off, so now the back of the car is coming away from the curb. So again, what we're trying to balance is the space in between the rear door handle and the curbstone that we're reversing round. Remember to keep checking round. Every car length that you reverse back, you need to check everywhere again. If anyone arrives within a couple of car lengths of your position, come to a stop. We follow the curb, keeping the same distance until we can't see the bend anymore and we can see the straight part of curb. This is where we keep a wheel the same and check in the left mirror. Again, we're checking to make sure our rear door handle isn't coming closer or further from the curb. If you haven't got a rear door handle, make sure you focus at the back of the car. We're now going to have a look at the curb out the back window. When the curb reaches approximately in the middle of the back window, that's when we straighten away from the curb. Try not to be thinking left or right when you're trying to work out which way to steer. You'll only get confused. Always think towards or away from the curb. We're now trying to keep the car, again, the same distance from the curb. Try and focus at the back, at the far distance. If our car comes towards the curb, we steer away. And if we go away from the curb, we obviously need to steer back towards the curb. We're trying to get the rear door handle nearly brushing the curb and staying the same, not going closer or not going further. And the same goes in the back window too. You need to be spending a majority of the time looking this way as well as checking the left mirror. If we go too close to the curb, you see the curb moving across the back window. And if you go too far away from the curb, as you will see now, it goes the opposite way. So again, we're trying to keep the curb in the same position. Make sure when it's staying in the same position, you look out the back and come to a stop.